Hello and welcome to another episode of I'm Talking. Today I decided to talk about a topic that I find really interesting, and the idea came from this article I was reading recently that talked about Microsoft at one point was considering buying SEGA. Now, I find this really interesting, and I think that it actually might have been good for SEGA to actually be acquired by Microsoft and have that backing. Now, nobody ever really knew why this acquisition fell through until now. There's been a few articles online talking about this, and a former Microsoft executive has said that Bill Gates was actually the reason behind them not buying SEGA. According to him, Bill Gates had said he didn't think SEGA had enough muscle to eventually stop Sony, which was correct in terms of just SEGA by themselves. They couldn't stop Sony, and they exited the console race, so he was pretty much spot on with that. But I think if Microsoft had acquired SEGA, it might have been a completely different story. And I'm going to tell you why. There are a few reasons that I've come up with as to why I think it might have been good for Microsoft, or actually good for SEGA, for Microsoft to acquire them. And one of those reasons being financial backing, of course. Now, with Microsoft backing SEGA with their large amount of money, they really could have pushed SEGA through the Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube era of consoles, and at least gotten them through that part. And I think they could have actually pulled ahead later in the game. And one of those reasons, I think, is because if Microsoft had acquired SEGA, likely Halo would be a Dreamcast exclusive. Now, Halo, as a lot of you know, was a system seller for the original Xbox, and I think it could have done the same thing for the Dreamcast. Now, of course, it would have come out later in the Dreamcast life, but like I said, I do think that the Dreamcast could have lasted that long if they had Microsoft behind them. And Halo really would have been a big system seller for the Dreamcast, as it was with the original Xbox. So the final reason I have is reputation. Now, as I had said in my previous Talking episode, where I talked about the Dreamcast demise, I think the main reason why the Dreamcast didn't last as long as it could have was Sega's reputation at the time, due to the premature discontinuation of the 32X and the Sega Saturn, and of course the early release, or the surprise early release of the Sega Saturn, which angered developers. Sega just didn't have a very good reputation at the time, and if Microsoft had acquired them, they would have the influence to get third-party developers back to Sega consoles after Sega had driven them away, mainly because of the whole Saturn fiasco, and consumers would have also likely given Sega another chance due to them having Microsoft behind them now. But of course, this is all just speculation, and none of this really ever happened. Microsoft had never acquired SEGA, which is, I think, unfortunate, because I think Microsoft could have saved the Dreamcast, and today we could see the Dreamcast 2, the Dreamcast 3, or whatever Sega would have called their future consoles, and possibly even Shenmue 3, which would have been awesome. I'm still hoping for that, but not gonna hold my breath on that. But anyway, even though Microsoft never acquired SEGA, never made that purchase, they still partnered with them to bring Windows CE compatibility to the Dreamcast, which made it easy for developers to port PC games over to the Dreamcast. And I believe some examples of those games include Starlancer, Maximum Pool, and Armada. I'm sure that helped sales, but of course it didn't help enough, obviously. Had Microsoft made the plunge and bought SEGA, I really do think they could have saved them. But what do you guys think? If you have an opinion on this, please leave a comment, do a video response, and let me know what you think of this. But anyway, guys, this has been another episode of I'm Talking. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching.